What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Japan, and we're returning to the album Adolescent Sex, 1978. Luca is deciding if she wants to come up. And the next track is Suburban Love, which is an interesting title. It sounds a bit comedic, the idea of love, but then qualifying that by saying it's suburban, perhaps meaning it's not urban, it's not cosmopolitan, though maybe also it's not rural, it's not remote, but it's a perhaps comfortable and yet overly bland type of love, meaning when suburban is used as a critical or pejorative adjective, it tends to mean something that is made safe, it's made taupe, as sometimes people say, or standardized and comfortable in a way that is not edgy, it's not overly creative. But again, also on the other end of that, it's not remote, it's not rural, it's not backwoods. It's just safely and perhaps blandly in the middle of the spectrum of density and or original spectrums. So yeah, ultimately, or spectra if you prefer. So yeah, I wonder the context in which the adjective is being applied here. It literally just could be about a love affair or a love that is placed in a suburban environment, meaning it's not trying to make a point or trying to use suburban as an adjective to give you a hint as to the quality or character of the love, but just saying, hey, here's a suburban neighborhood in which there are people who love maybe in both directions, loving each other, or maybe it's a unrequited suburban love. I probably already talked longer than I have to. Let's give it a listen. This is Japan. The track is Suburban Love, and it's from their 1978 album, Adolescent Sex.
Push me, a giant. Earth, wind, and fire. Can't take me, a giant. Earth, wind, and fire. Can't push me, a giant. Take me, my giant. Earth, wind, and fire. Can I push me, my giant. Earth, wind, and fire. Can I take me, my giant. Earth, wind.
was too quick. I mean, that was a long tune. I'm gonna say that's like 6.5, 7 minutes. More than 7, like 7.5. So I'd say of this very early Japan stuff, that was my favorite. Number one, it felt a little less zany. Not that the other tracks felt zany, and it's maybe a good comparison that I did a very early Simple Minds reaction in the same batch, and that was like full on wild, weird, and zany. Not in a bad way, just it was like really off the rails. This feels a bit more focused and a little less comedic, but definitely out there, and ultimately it felt like it mixed some different genres. Like, I got a bit of classic rock feeling, I got a bit of blues rock, there was a bit of that soul funk that has very much been part of this early Japan journey. I got a bit of this keyboard rock sound. It almost felt kind of like they were live, like jamming, meaning there were just sections where it seemed to be toying with the guitar, and there's some really good guitar work in there. And again, like guitar work that wouldn't be out of place in a really rockin' blues rock type of tune, but also guitar work that made me think of like classic rock, space rock type of stuff. And yeah, so there's those keyboard runs. There was like a little kind of dancing one that was like very much in the background. There were those long chords which, you know, sound like a tension string, but I think those were like keyboard chords. And then again, hearing Sylvian's vocals, I definitely hear, Mark has talked about it in a couple of the reactions, where there's a bit of a sneer and an attitude. I definitely heard that a bit in this, but it didn't sound like forced or out of place. So again, I get it. This is very different from the vocal work I've heard him do in albums and years after this. But this one felt maybe more in the appropriate atmosphere of the track, meaning it felt like he was singing a bit like Prince or something, like just, you know, being a bit funky with his vocal delivery in a track that was funky and jamming and a bit almost like improvised in the sound. So definitely a journey in this one. Definitely not unlike some later Japan tunes where it feels like the vocal parts were the minority, meaning it feels like there was a larger duration of instrumental and like solo sections in this one, where again, I've gone through some Japan tunes earlier in my deep dive, but farther ahead chronologically, where it might be like a 5-minute tune and the vocals and lyrics are confined to about 1.5 minutes of that, and the rest of it is all sort of, you know, sonic atmosphere, soundscape, and, you know, sort of instrumental interludes. This one had a bit of that, but as I said, maybe less like an art piece and more like a band just kind of jamming in the studio. So yeah, I enjoyed the fusion of soul and funk and blues and classic rock and keyboard rock. This one felt like it was a bit of all those different styles, and the way it came together was great. So as I said, among the early Japan stuff and stuff from this album that I've heard, I think this was maybe my favorite so far. I don't really know what it's about. There were, again, only a handful of words here and there that I heard clearly, so I don't really know what to make of it in that regard, and I certainly don't know what type of Suburban Love we're talking about here, so I'll look forward to hearing people's insights in that regard. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.